All right. So back on the show, longtime fan, listener, Georgia fan, Alabama. I don't even know what the hell to call you, Chris Marler. Saturday Down South. What's the show? Football Uncensored. I always forget that you change the name about every 6 months, so it's hard to keep up. But I've been on that show too, and I know you're not going to the game. You just told me you're going to a baby shower, something like that, something weird. How's it going?
Thanks, man. Hell of an intro. It's going fine. It's going fine. Yeah, sadly, I made the mistake of, I don't say it's a mistake because I don't think I'm physically allowed to say that right now with the location that I'm in. I think that after the USF game, I did not have a lot of hope in this team. I think anybody that saw Tyler Buckner start a game and then actually use his right arm, which I'm not sure is his dominant arm, to throw a football, pretty bad. So I did not think there was much of a chance this Bama team was going to get to Atlanta. Been a really, really fun year, I think, as obviously we're both in media and shit like that, and we try to be as objective as possible, but it's been really fun as a fan to watch Bama games because it's like for the first time in a long time, and I hate this is the Bama privilege part of it, which I know is arrogant and obnoxious to a lot of fan bases, and I get it. But it's been really fun to where every single game feels like it matters. Arkansas is coming down the wire somehow. The A&M game's like a pick 'em. Ole Miss, I mean, think about all the games they were behind at halftime and had to come make second half adjustments. It's just been a lot of fun this season to watch this.
Yeah, and I can confirm that because I love trolling you, and I troll you about every Friday about Alabama and how the odds against them, and you seem genuinely nervous every damn Friday, and then come Saturday night, you were as confident as you could be that Alabama's just going to keep all this marching on. So
everyone can suck it.
Exactly. But this is another confusing thing, Chris, because you seem to be the biggest Georgia fan out there that is an Alabama fan. I don't know how to. I mean, is this like your girlfriend, your wife and your girlfriend going head to head here? I mean, who
and my girlfriend?
Who are you going with here? I don't even know who you're picking.
So here's the thing. I again, it cracks me up because I've done a bunch of Georgia shows this week, and Georgia fans are there's a sect of Georgia fans that are completely convinced that I fucking hate Georgia because I make snide comments and make jokes and I make jokes about every team. We everybody can get it. We talk about that all the time. We're going to make jokes about every single team. I make fun of Bama all the time. Mm-hmm. And then there's a sect of Bama fans somehow who are fully convinced that I'm not a Bama fan, which is what the fuck ever. My job isn't to be a fan of either team, and my job isn't to make, fucking horny for disrespect, Kirby 4206969, make him feel better inside because I'm only saying nice things about his team. I think it's one thing that I always joke around with sports fans, and this probably won't be well received, but I don't care. It's I think there's a large number of sports fans and college football fans especially where it is more toxic than even politics, where it's you don't want to hear me say what my opinion is. You want me to say things that you agree with. Or in some cases for the Twitterverse and completely irrational people, you want me to say things that you completely disagree with. Or even if you do agree, you're going to tell me you disagree because you just want to be fucking mad. So I think that I've been a Bama fan my whole life. I hope they win Saturday. I will be pulling for Alabama, adamantly. At the same time, Georgia is the best program in the country right now. And I think that when it's an objective thing to say, and you're looking at both programs, there's it's hard not to get triggered by what David Pollock said, about the.
Uh-oh. I saw that. I was like, damn, there's dogs in the house already.
Dogs. That's nice. So I think it's fair to say with the David Pollock thing, it was I was a little bit triggered and frustrated by it because I think Saban is the GOAT. I think he's the greatest coach in the history of college football and all that kind of stuff. But also it's it's hard not to agree with what he's saying. Kirby is the better coach right now. Kirby is Georgia's program from every single possible angle is operating at a different level than not just Alabama, but every other team in the country. And that's fine. And I will also tell you this, and I've been saying this since February, right? Like our buddy Ty Richardson, I remember saying it to him like very early in the morning on Arkansas radio in February. Georgia is the best program in the country. They're the best team in the country. They have more talent than everyone. They develop talent better than anyone right now. They're putting kids in the league more from a recruiting standpoint, recruiting budget, like the operating, like the way that they're bringing like the experience and their coaching positions, the way they're like able to recruit at each position. Everything they're doing is at a different level. And they have won the last game against Alabama. But do not go into Mercedes-Benz on Saturday, which has been a fucking house of horrors for Georgia fans and had their heart ripped out multiple times in that stadium by Alabama. Do not let Nick Saban do what he's done in 4 out of 5 games against Kirby Smart and beat you. Because then that entire narrative shifts back to what it was for a very long time. And then you start looking at some of like the things that have happened for Georgia over the past couple of years, and all that shit talk kind of just goes away. So you better take care of business on Saturday, because I think that they're the best team. I think they're fully the best team. But if you don't go in there and beat a very good Alabama team, and we've seen this team like not get this monkey off their back, they were a better team in 2021, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
They got their ass beat by 17 points. It was the best defense in the country, best defense in college football history, and they gave up more points in one quarter than they had in any game that season. So you better handle your business, because if you don't, I think there's going to be a lot of receipts that have been kept from a lot of people, not just Bama fans, but from around the country. Like, hold on a second.
Right. I mean, there's a lot. I think there's a lot at stake for both teams, though. I mean, because Alabama, they, like you said, they can smash kind of some of these narratives, but if they get their ass kicked, an expanded SEC, it's just getting tougher.
Yeah.
And I mean, they've gotten there, but there's, I don't want to say luck, because I don't know if that's the right word, but several games could have went the other way, but to their credit, they win it. And if they win on Saturday, they deserve to go to the college football playoff, and they'll probably win the whole damn thing. And I'm talking Alabama here. So, and if Georgia loses, I don't think they get in. I really don't, unless chaos ensues this weekend. So there's a lot on the line for both. But who do you think that motivates more this weekend? Alabama, which this may be the last opportunity under Nick Saban to win a championship, or Georgia, who, again, they've owned college football, but we're going into a new era next season. So they'll still be successful, but probably never going to be in an opportunity to win 3 in a row again.
I think that I don't think any of the mindset for Bama is like, this could be our last chance to win under Saban, like in the locker room, right? I think there's like, some objective fans that might be like, oh God, like, we might be one of the last times. And like, you talk about bringing more people in the league, you're bringing in a team in the league that just went into your house and beat you by 10. Like, so it's not like you're just bringing in 2 more teams and it's going to get tougher. It's like you're bringing in a team that just like slapped you around, like on national television in week 2. So yeah, I think it's tough. I think it's going to be tough for everybody. I just think that like the way the 2 teams are, and listen, Kirby is going to deliver some locker room speech and have these guys convinced that everyone is against them. No one believes that this team can win, right? But I think at the same time, if you're Saban and you're Alabama and you're going into this game with like I think you block out the noise from the side you block out the noise of like, hey, if we lose this game, the narrative becomes like, well, they are firmly behind Saban, or firmly behind Kirby, like firmly behind Georgia. And I think there's a lot of people that probably already believe that, like, and I think with good reason. But yeah, I think that is a very fair narrative that could continue to develop if they lose. And here's the thing too, Mike, is like, because I do think Georgia wins the game, because I think they're the better team, and they just can hurt you in so many different ways, right? It's like a bipolar woman, so they can just do so much damage. But at the same time, like, I wonder how big the chip is on Kirby's shoulder in this game, because when you look at what he does, like when the lights shine brightest, there's no team in the country that has shown up more over the last 2 or 3 years than Georgia. Like every single time. They put up 46.6 points per game last year against ranked opponents. Like this year they have like the look at the common opponents they have against Bama. Their margin of victory for like versus Bama is like plus 48 more than what Bama beat their common opponents by. I mean, it's an average of 12 points per game. Like, that's insane. So I do think that, like, Kirby, you could say the monkey's off his back because they won the Natty in 2021 and got revenge and all that kind of stuff. But I think that he knows what he has in that locker room, and he also knows that, like, Kirby's one of the few coaches that has a killer instinct, and he'll put his like foot on your throat and just fucking press down. And I think that if he has the chance to do that for Bama's program on Saturday, he will.
So what are the keys to the matchup you think that'll define this game while you're at the baby shower, what have you, and then this is like the national championship here that you're missing just a few blocks away?
Totally. I appreciate you keep saying it like that too. One, maybe you figure out a way for all those white skill position players to not show up. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if it's injuries. Maybe there's a sale at Kohl's that Ladd and Brock Bowers go to. I don't know. I think that, like, it like, you can kind of just chalk up the loss to be like, all right, the like, Bowers is going to get his yards. If you look at Bowers' numbers in, like, the postseason, especially, he's just a fucking killer. Like, he's just so good in the postseason. I think he's been over 100 yards both times he's played against Alabama. And he's had, like, I think like 5 touchdowns, something like that, in like 6 career postseason games. They're going to find ways to get him the ball. I think that if you're Bama's defense, you need to not you have to figure out a way for them to beat you one way. Like, it's got to be like, Kendall Milton can't be running for 8 yards a carry and then have Carson Beck be just dropping dimes all over the field. That can't happen. If you're on offense, I think it sucks that, like, Jace McClellan's out, because I think that Bama's going to try to get on the like the edge and like run a lot of stretch plays, because we've seen that Georgia struggle with that a bunch. You cannot turn the ball over, which I don't trust, to be honest. You have to protect the quarterback. You're talking about an offensive line that's given up 39 sacks this year. I mean, that offensive line in 2021 was the worst in Bama history, and they gave up only 2 more sacks in 15 games than this offensive line's given up in 12. But I think that the key for it on offense, in my opinion, is going to be Jamarian Miller, one of these 3 guys, or maybe all 3. Jamarian Miller on the edge at running back, and then having someone like Amari Niblack or Kendrick Law have some big plays in the passing game, because those are 2 guys that have been really, really explosive at times. It just seems like almost every time they have an explosive play, something happens, like there's like a holding call and gets called back. So I think that you're going to have to hit chunk plays, because you're just not going to, I think, consistently drive down the field on that Georgia defense.
Mm-hmm. If the game is tied or, a 1-score game at halftime, what's your confidence level that Nick Saban will make the adjustments? Sometimes they say second half adjustments are overrated, but they've just been dominant. I mean, they've looked like a national championship team in the second half. That's not to say Georgia hasn't, but I think that's more of a function of Georgia just having better overall talent and depth than anybody they play, so they kind of wear them down, and they're not going to have that advantage going up against Alabama because the rosters are near equal. What's your confidence level that Saban and his coaching staff can make the adjustments to have a winning second half to maybe win this football game?
What's weird is I think that like the way it's set up for almost every game Bama's played in, like that's where the confidence has been. Like I said at the Tennessee game, said at the A&M game, it's like, you're in a dogfight. Like you've got to figure out a way just to get a stop and start making second half adjustments and climb yourself out of these holes. Because you were down at Ole Miss, you were down at A&M, you were down at Tennessee, and they were able to make all these second half adjustments, tied against LSU. I wish I had the numbers in front of me. My good buddy Josh Hancher, Dog Stats on Twitter, him and I did a deep dive on this, and I can't find it. Something like on my old phone or something, where you look at what Georgia has done in the second half under Kirby Smart. The amount of shutouts that team has put up in the last several years is astounding. So I think, at the very least, I would call it a push from a coaching standpoint of like, I think that who's going to make more second half adjustments or more effective second half adjustments. I think that it would be a push. At the same time, I think that like Georgia has started slow a bunch. Like there's been several games that they've started slow. South Carolina, like Mizzou, I believe Ole Miss was like, I know it was like 14-14, but even at the half against like Mizzou and South Carolina, Auburn, like those are tight games. I wouldn't be surprised at all. And actually, there's a good prop bet for this from a gambling standpoint. Bama to be leading at the half, and then Georgia to win the game is like plus 700. That feels like a really good value bet for what I think Georgia is able to do. because here's the other thing too, Mike, is like they can make all the second half adjustments, but one thing that Georgia does have from a coaching standpoint, outside of Kirby Smart, is the experience they have at the coordinator positions, like not just with Schumann, but with like somebody like Muschamp and somebody like Mike Bobo who've been in this league like combined like 50 fucking years. Like they're not gonna flinch, right? Like they're not gonna flinch, and especially with the way they've had second half adjustments on their own team. Tommy Rees in the biggest moment of his young career, yeah, I mean, like I would take Bobo. Like I think that like I think that you would have to lean towards Georgia's coaching on like being in favor of that over Bama's.
I'm glad you went to the coaches because I've been asking a couple people this week, and so I'll ask you. I think you'll like this question. Which coordinator are fans going to be upset with the most come Saturday night? Mike Bobo or Tommy Rees? Because you know fans are going to be irrationally mad at one of them.
Yeah, I know what I just said, but I kind of think it's going to be Bobo because here's the thing, like I think Bama fans kind of know what they have with Rees at this point, and there's so much of this offense depends on like I tell you what, if Bama goes out there and they don't run a single fucking design QB run, you're going to have a lot of upset Bama fans, like a lot of upset Bama fans. I think that Bama fans are also going to this game. Like you would have to be upset. To be upset, you would probably have to lose this game. I think a lot of Bama fans are probably confident, but they're also like, oh, man, it is going to be an uphill battle with this offense versus this Georgia defense. Just from like the lazy narratives aside, right? Like people think this Bama offense has been like struggled a bunch, and everyone thinks this Georgia defense is like, as dominant as it's been the last 2 years, and it's not. It's just not at all. Like I mean, Mizzou went all over them on the ground, like all over them on the ground. Spencer Rattler was like 14 of 17 in the first half against that team, and they're great for 60 minutes. But I think if Kevin Steele is able to somehow get home, and that defensive line is able to get home, Braswell and Dallas Turner are able to get to Carson Beck, and he flutters one, and it gets picked, or he God forbid he throws a pick in the first half. Yeah, Georgia fans are gonna be real mad at Bobo.
Mm-hmm. All right, so you already said Georgia's winning. What's your score prediction?
I think it's going to be a really close game for 3 quarters. I think it'll be a really, really, really good game. I don't know which way I would lean in terms of it's going to be an offensive shootout or a defensive struggle, but I do think the two teams are going to mirror each other for about 3 quarters. I think they're going to be very similar to like in style of what they're trying to do, and match each other like along the way. I think once you get to the 4th quarter, I just trust Georgia more in these situations to put the game away. And I think that even if it is close, I think the 6 points is way too low. Like I think because you look at the Bama helmet and the logo or whatever, and Vegas is like, all right, it can't be double digits because it probably should be. Mm-hmm. I think Georgia will win, but I think in the 4th quarter you will see a chance where Kirby can add on, right, and like add a score late. I think Georgia wins by double digits, and I think the final score is 35-24.
Any chance at all? And I realize there's hardly no one's going to be picking this outside of Alabama homers, that Alabama wins big and Jalen Milroe has like some insane game where he scores like 6 touchdowns. Let's say that happens. Any shot in hell that he steals the Heisman?
I don't think so. Like I think Jaden Daniels has 50 touchdowns. Right. And then the other thing he has
not against Georgia.
Not against Georgia. I will say that Milroe has been one of the best players, I think, in the conference, especially that position. Him and Beck, I think, are 2 and 3 in the conference. I think I believe. There's been a lot of good quarterback play, throughout the year. But I think those two are firmly at 2 and 3 behind Daniels. There's a chance that it happens because we watched Bryce Young. Like Bryce Young won the Heisman most likely against Auburn, which is stupid because it's Auburn. Mm-hmm. Like in the way they won that game. But like then Bryce Young came up against the best defense in the history of college football and put up an SEC championship game record. I don't think that Milroe is going to do that necessarily, but you could argue the best defense. Who do you think the best defense Bama has played this year is?
Maybe A&M.
Yeah, that's what I would say. And he went for 335 yards in that game. So
he was awesome. They forced him to beat him with his arm, and he did it.
Right. And there's so many big conversions on third down, especially. I think he can get an invite to New York for sure. I don't think that he is going to put up a game big enough for him to win it. I think even if he did, he shouldn't win it. I think that the Heisman should be Jaden Daniels, in my opinion. But
All right, before you go, Chris, can you tell the audience where can they follow you? Where can they find your work?
yeah, so I'll be at the Pizza Hut in Alpharetta on Saturday for this wedding shower. No, Vern Funquist on social media on Instagram and Twitter, and then the podcast is Saturday Football Uncensored. Comes out. We have a live show every Sunday, and then we have a new episode that comes out every Wednesday night, Thursday morning.
Awesome.